not get it wrong.
If
I do, I'll be... Yeah, that's fine. We can kick back. It's the Shacknews booth. We're live? I guess we're live?
All right, let's do this.
Welcome back to the Shacknews E3 2017 booth here in West Hall, in the shadow of Nintendo's booth. We are in this swanky little booth here. I'm here with Clint Bundrick from Microsoft to talk about the game that we've been waiting for, Shackers, for quite some time.
Yes.
Crackdown 3. Thank you for coming here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for releasing this game, or at least giving us some footage about this game, letting me play it yesterday at the Microsoft showcase.
What'd you think?
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a lot of Crackdown. You know, it's got that same, you know, once I was playing it for the first few minutes and I hadn't seen an orb yet, I was like, okay, this is kind of like Crackdown. Like,
gotta look up.
And then I looked up and I was like, I want it. I was like, that orb is mine.
Exactly.
And then I spent the next 10 minutes just going after orbs. And I was like, yep, I'm getting this game. I'm getting this game day one. It's one of those things that definitely shows off the power of the Xbox One X. You know, it's fun. So let's talk about what's new in Crackdown.
Yes.
And especially, you're here to talk about the story specifically. So, 4-player co-op?
So what we're showing at E3 is campaign for the first time ever. Our campaign experience is playable online in 4-player co-op or offline single player. We've talked a lot about destruction in the past, and I know there were some questions about where's the destruction? Destruction is absolutely part of Crackdown 3. That's our competitive multiplayer experience. We're going to be learning a lot more about that in the future, but for us, in campaign, you save the city, in competitive multiplayer, you wreck it.
Competitive multiplayer based on wrecking things? That sounds just delightful. It's going to be based on, because I think there were challenges where it was like amount of money damage. Is it going to be kind of similar to that? We're
going to talk a lot more about our competitive multiplayer soon, but what we've shown and what people have seen a lot of the technology that we've shown, and that's the cloud compute that gives you completely 100% destructible environments where you can tear down buildings and create your own paths through the maps. That's our competitive multiplayer experience, and here at E3 we're showing off campaign for the first time.
Are you guys showing co-op at all here?
Yes, behind closed doors we're letting people play co-op.
So it's 4-player co-op.
4-player co-op.
Can we like juggle cars to each other and stuff?
Of course you can.
That sounds delightful. So we're working on. We're going to hear more about multiplayer, but let's focus on the story. We were talking about this off camera. So I asked you, I was like, I played the game. I didn't see an agency tower. I was like, where's the agency tower? So where's the agency tower?
So this is an all-new city. The city's twice as large as the city in the original, and it is completely crime-owned. It is completely controlled and dominated by a criminal empire that calls itself Terra Nova. So in the very beginning of the game takes place a little more than 10 years after the events of Crackdown 2.
Okay.
And there's been this massive global attack that's kind of thrust the agency back into action. They track that attack back to this island called New Providence. They don't know much about this island. They just know that it's completely controlled and dominated by Terra Nova. So the agency rolls in, they come in with that agency level of hubris where they come in and they expect to be the big saviors and they expect a hero's welcome, and it doesn't necessarily go their way.
They thought they were going to be greeted as liberators.
Yes, exactly. So it doesn't necessarily go their way, and so then you are released into the city. But like I said, it's completely crime-owned. So in terms of the agency tower, while there's no agency presence, what you have now is the Kingpin Tower. So the entire game is about getting to the Kingpin, killing the Kingpin, dismantling Terra Nova. And it's a Crackdown game. So the entire city is open from the beginning. You can go after the Kingpin right from the start. You're going to be under-leveled. It's going to be really hard.
You might not even be able to jump up to him.
Yep, exactly. But players will figure it out, especially in co-op. That's always part of it. And people will figure it out. And so it's completely open-ended. And that Kingpin Tower is twice as tall as the agency tower in the original. So it is massive.
So that's already a huge building.
And
so this is going to be massive.
Massive.
So this is the largest open world that we've been in the Crackdown universe.
Absolutely. By more than double.
One thing I remember from the agency tower, having the support of the agency, was that you could call for a car. There were different things where, you had things at your disposal. Is it going to be a little harder here on the island? Like, are you going to be commandeering vehicles if you need to drive, or?
You can commandeer vehicles. One of the things that we don't have in the show floor demo, we kind of wanted to hold it back to reveal it later, is what we're doing with our driving skill. So transforming vehicles are back.
Yep.
But we felt like the driving skill in the original was kind of the forgotten skill. You know,
yeah.
Some people played with it, but in general, people were like, you know, why use this when I could just jump through the world and do everything else that I do?
Sure.
We wanted to make that an extension of the arsenal. So we're bringing transforming vehicles back. We're pushing it really hard, and we're going to do some really fun stuff with it, and it's going to cover some of the interesting things you're talking about.
Well, it sounds interesting because, you know, transforming vehicles, I'm like, am I going to be flying around in Crackdown for the first time in a vehicle, maybe? I don't want you to answer. I don't want you to get in trouble, but
yeah,
I think we may
trying to get me in trouble.
Don't say anything if I'm right.
I'll just laugh. How's that?
He didn't say anything. Oh, well, then he did. I don't know. Indeterminate answer. Either way, I tried. Yeah, so I was curious about, you know, I think another cool thing about this franchise is the weapons and just the abilities.
Yes.
So, you know, it's been a while since Crackdown 2. What have you added to, like, skill trees and leveling up that we may not know about?
So we released more footage today, and we'll continue to release more footage. And you'll see that we've given players kind of new ways to interact with the environment. So now you still have that crazy, you know, power curve from Crackdown where, you know, at the beginning of the game you're throwing rocks and trash cans, but within a couple hours you're throwing giant fuel trucks. Same thing with the agility skill. So all 5 skills are back: agility, firearms, explosive, strength, and driving.
Okay.
But now, as you actually level up, you'll unlock new abilities. So for example, with agility, we've given you a double jump, we've given you an air burst, and Crackdown's always been this vertical platformer, and now we just give you more options, more ways to express that. And you can dodge rockets in the middle of the air and otherwise use that to get through the world. And so you'll see more and more of those skills. On the weapon side, one of the things I really love about Crackdown is this very physical game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you see that moves, you can use it as a weapon, right? You can, you know, ground pound a light post and pick up the light post and beat everybody to death with it and
I
level
did that
up
during the demo.
Exactly. Right. So because everything's physical, we were able to come up with some really fun weapons. So one of the ones you'll see is the Singularity Weapon. So this creates a black hole that sucks in everything physical around it.
Wow.
So that's bodies, cars, props, vehicles, just everything. And it mashes them together and they collide and do damage to each other and explode, and then it blows outward. That works even on things like, we have a monorail line that runs through the world. The monorail carriages on it are completely physical. So if you fire that black hole, it'll rip those monorail carriages off the line, explode, they'll go flying, then you can pick them up and throw them at people.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that kind of answers my question about what you guys have planned on the powers and the weapons. Another thing I noticed, we have the trailer running, this art style. I think before the stream we were mentioning it looks a little inspired by Frank Miller or some graphic novels.
We always talk about it as it's a living graphic novel style, and we wanted to bring that back. We felt like it was such a part of the franchise. I mean, this is Crackdown's this over-the-top, bombastic, kind of crazy game, and the graphic novel art style fits that really well.
And I don't remember if it was even called Crackdown 3 at the time, but we saw this one trailer, it wasn't even last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, where it was this daring escape out of some sort of tower, and it was a lot of explosions and action. It looked like an action movie.
Yep.
Can we expect some like ridiculous action sequences in this story?
So what you were talking about there was our competitive multiplayer experience. That's what you get with the 100% destructible environments and the cloud compute. You'll absolutely get that in the competitive multiplayer, and you get some really insane moments in campaign as well, again, because everything's physical. The other system that really drives campaign is this system called Gangs Bite Back. So what it is that every crime boss in this city has a job. They have a thing that they care about, a thing that they control, something that they do to serve the organization. The player's goal is to figure out what that is, exploit it, use it to piss them off. And as you do, they'll send troops after you, they'll up their reinforcements, and they'll go through what we call escalations, where they make their areas more dangerous, or they'll go through retaliations, where they send things after you. But those retaliations are completely dynamic.
Okay.
So wherever you are in the world, when you piss them off, they will come to you. that extends to the boss fights. So we do have some
wow.
bosses, just like the original, where you find them in the world and you fight them as a part of their structure. But we also have boss fights that are completely dynamic, that can happen anywhere. It's all just about where you are in the world when you finally piss them off enough to draw them into play.
I think you brought up a really interesting question when it comes to the technical side of this game. So this is a huge open world, and you just mentioned if I piss off an enemy, they're going to chase me. How do you deal with that in a world where there's hundreds of enemies? Is there going to be a point where I have 100 NPCs chasing me around, or do you figure out a way, like if I'm X amount away from that, they stop chasing me? Or what kind of AI did you have to build into this to prevent like one of those crazy? I'm sure when you were developing this, you had this happen where you're being chased around the level by like 100 of these guys. But what kind of technical things did you have to do to prevent that from getting too silly?
Well, think about it this way: 4-player co-op. 4 players in 4 different parts of the city, pissing off 4 different bosses, triggering 4 different boss fights or retaliations at the same time, dragging those into the same area. The kind of combinatorial effect of all of those systems makes it completely unique, and that's always our goal. For me, and it's also just like the games that I love are the ones that give players the tools to create their own stories with their friends and create their own moments, and they feel completely personal. And that's a big part of our goal with Crackdown, is so that whenever you go through, you felt like the way you dismantled Terra Nova, like your path through campaign was completely unique. Yeah,
and I think that's a really important thing for a game. It has to be fun, it has to let players play. And I think, you've almost created a tool, and it's like, yeah, we could go fight Terra Nova right now, or we could just go throw cars around for the next hour.
Just go mess around. It's just a big sandbox.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of open world. And I think that's what you guys have captured. I can't wait to try this in co-op, but because I really think that's where it will shine.
It's so much fun in co-op.
Looking at the single player right now, you're like, okay, this is more of the same, but I'm like, wait, this times 4 is going to be absolutely nuts.
Exactly.
You have 2 guys that could set up trucks on either side of a road and jump and crash in the middle of it.
People create their own stunts, and again, because we let you right from the beginning, you can go after the Kingpin, you can go anywhere in the world, and this is a game where the only game over, the only mission fail is death.
Yeah.
That's it. You can never fail because you left the mission area. Like, all of our missions run basically at the same time, because our missions are our bosses, and the bosses have a place in the world, and they have things that they care about, and it's all just about trying to draw them out.
I think one thing that's really exciting about this game is the scale of it. This island is huge, the environment's really big, the buildings are the tallest you've ever had in this universe. I think it's just going to lend to a lot of experimentation on the part of gamers, and I can't wait to get my hands on this, like, for real. Not for like 10 minutes, not for 30 minutes. I want to be able to just sit down for like hours and get lost and just do. I love doing stupid, silly things in like games like GTA 5.
Of course.
I think that's a game that you can draw some parallels to how you hope going forward. It's like, oh yeah, you can play the single player, but you're still going to want to play co-op, and you're still going to want to play multiplayer. And it's like, I feel like, I even told you this over there, I was like, I feel like you just gave me a little taste of this game, and I want to know what the whole steak tastes like.
Soon we'll continue to roll out more information, and I can't wait for people to play it. I think.
Are you guys thinking a beta or a demo ahead of launch?
I've got no information on that right now, but obviously, yeah, we're here to show campaign for the very first time.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be really cool. Now, what else do you think we need to learn about this that we haven't hit? Have I been such a good interviewer that I covered every aspect of this game?
You've been great. I mean, the game is about skills for kills, leveling up that crazy power curve. It's about our Gangs Bite Back system that gives you a unique playthrough based on how you chose to dismantle the criminal empire, and co-op just multiplies all of that by 4, and it's just an incredibly physical game, and I've really enjoyed working on it.
And we talked about the skill tree a little. Cosmetically, are we going to be able to like alter what our character looks like a little bit more than the past generations?
So we have female agents. We have an incredibly diverse set of agents that you get to choose from.
That's going to be cool.
And you'll notice, in the trailer we showed Terry Crews, and he's this kind of living embodiment of an agent, right? With his intensity, he's so much fun. He's so much fun to work with, and he is a playable character as well.
Terry Crews is a playable character?
He is a playable character.
Does anyone know this?
We're just starting to tell people.
Did you hear that, Shacknews? Terry Crews is going to be playable in Crackdown 3. So I'm gonna have to buy this game, or unless you guys want to give it to me for a review. That's cool too. I'm sure Shacknews will have a review on it. Thank you so much for coming, Clint.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
This has been great. Do we have a release date?
November 7th.
November 7th, which is 2 weeks after every other game gets released.
And
but that's also the release date of the Xbox One X.
Yep, so we're on Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Windows 10, and cross-play across all of those devices.
Cross-play across all those platforms. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep,
Appreciate
have a great show.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, we got more awesome interviews coming up.